Hello, friends, and welcome back to r/ProRevenge. Another awful boss got what he deserved with the help of our OP in our first story. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. If you feel sick, go see a doctor. Okay, boss. About 10 months ago, I was going through a very hard time in my life. My job, my marriage, my family, everything was failing, including me, who'd relapsed into alcoholism. Then the pandemic came on top. I desperately needed a break, or at least some slack. Since I was regarded as an essential employee, IT, help desk, admin grunt, my employer blocked all of my inquiries for some home office to catch a breath and get some distance between me and a certain micromanaging, unofficial team lead, and maybe even find enough time and power to tackle some of my personal problems. Home office would have meant saving 3 hours drive daily. Little background info. This was during a time where laws and policies changed almost weekly. Can't say if at that moment home office was even mandatory, if possible, but at least the whole world already still agreed everyone should stay home if possible. Except my employer, who told me there's no home office, no, not even some hours after lunch break, and go see a doctor if I didn't feel well enough to work. So I did, and the doc shook his head about my employer and gave me a sick note, and another one, until today. I made good use of this time. As of today, I'm 241 days sober. My divorce is lined up, and my ex has recently finally moved out. Never in this time did my employer reach out to me, not even once. Well, someone from work I didn't really have anything to do with contacted me on a private channel, so I guess that was them eavesdropping. Until some weeks ago when they sent me my dismissal. This I'd been waiting for, since they're legally not allowed to do that, in my case at least. Thankfully, I've always been a fan of unions. Not a fanboy, but they do have their advantages one shouldn't miss out on, like free legal counsel. Now, after some dormammu I've come to bargain, I've agreed to leave this toxic workplace in exchange for coin. Those coins will help me replace the stuff my ex-wife took with her. I ain't even mad. Sorry, kids. Your mommy's a liar. On the maternal side of my family, I have a cousin, Sarah. Admittedly, I don't see her very often because her parents got divorced when she was a kid, and her mom always got her for the holidays, so she didn't really feel connected to our family, which is fine, but valid. But she lied to us a lot when she was an adult that she'd come and never did, and it kind of killed everyone inside a bit, especially my grandmother. But every time I do see her now, it's a bit of a nightmare. The last time I saw her was in 2019 at our grandfather's memorial, where she showed up 3 hours late in casual clothes. It was a semi-formal event that were covered in stains and dog fur, and the first thing she did was approach our newly widowed grandmother and ask her for money. So yeah, she's not a great person, but since her mom is raising her kids, they're super sweet. Anyway, during 2021, my paternal grandfather passed due to COVID complications, and when he first got sick, he and my grandmother decided to give myself, siblings, and cousins our inheritance because they didn't want it to get lost between fighting if it were to be sorted out after they passed. We were each given 50,000 CAD. My brothers and I immediately put the money into tax-free savings accounts and savings accounts because there's only so much money that you're legally allowed to put in TFSAs. One thing about the money, we told no one. Only our immediate paternal family knew, and we weren't going to tell anyone else because people get weird about money. My maternal side of the family's been fixing up our old family cottage, and one of my brothers is in the trades and doing well for himself, so he decided to buy a used boat with the inheritance money from his savings and then quickly replaced it. Our maternal side was told about and shown the boat, and we just told them he got the money from the trades. Well, my paternal grandmother let it slip about the inheritance to my maternal grandmother, who accidentally mentioned it to one of my poor uncles. He makes poor financial decisions, and he told the rest of the family. He pouted a bit, but overall no one asked for money and understood why we didn't tell them. Since we're not getting together for Christmas this year, we're having a video call to chat and wish happy holidays before we all got busy, and my maternal cousin was there, much to everyone's surprise. Not even 5 minutes into the video call, this conversation happens. Sarah: "All right, boys, what do you say to your auntie?" Kids: Thank you for taking us to Disney. Me, who isn't even planning on going anywhere near the U.S. with a 10-foot pole. What are you talking about? Sarah, you're paying for us to go to Disney. Me, no, I'm not. Where'd you hear that? Kid 1, Mommy said that you'd send us to Disney because Grandma gave you lots of money. Sarah, who had a very smug look on her face and clearly knew what she was doing and that no one, least of all, I, had said anything of the sort. Yup, and we're so grateful because Grandma didn't give us any money, so thank you. Me, who's 100% done with this bee and all the pain she's caused my family. Sorry, kids, your mommy's a liar. I'm not sending anyone to Disney. She lied to you. And the money I got was from my other grandma because my grandpa got sick and died. It's not from this side of the family. I'm sorry that your mommy lied to you. She shouldn't have done that. It was wrong. She owes you an apology. Everyone on the call was just frozen. And then it erupted. Her kids started yelling at her, "Why would you lie?" And "That was so mean." And my personal favorite, "Are you lying about other stuff?" Probably, kiddos, probably. She looked so angry and betrayed on camera, and my relatives started chiming in, but there were too many voices, so I said bye and left the call. My mom called me. I live in a different province, and said what I did was uncalled for, but I pointed out that because of her, there's no way for me to leave that conversation without looking like the bad guy, because I was absolutely not using my money to give her a free vacation. And that she'd lied too much to our family and directly caused all of us a lot of pain, and it was probably for the best that her kids caught on quick. She just said that what I did was uncalled for and hung up, but then I started getting texts from other relatives in the call, and everyone except for the broke uncle who's always complaining about his poor financial decisions was on my side because she'd heard them too. My grandpa called to thank me because the only reason Sarah comes around anymore is for money, and it's very hurtful. Sarah was texting expletives at me until I blocked her. Then I start getting messages from her mother because her kids were getting so unruly from the betrayal that she just ditched the kids with her mom until her mom could get them calmed down. Like, how entitled do you have to be? She demands a free trip and then ditches her kids the moment she has to parent. Now on to an update. It isn't major because it hasn't even been 12 hours since the call, but the broke uncle I mentioned before who's broke just because of his own poor decision-making, he called me privately to try and guilt me into paying for a Disney trip for him and his family. That would be him, the crazy and entitled conspiracy theorist, his wife, who although lovely, comes from a very wealthy family from a different country and goes on 6 to 12 vacations or cruises a year, his 2 sons who are 1,000 times more entitled than he is and are hellspawns, and his stepdaughter, who only just got back on the wagon and is only 2 months sober. I immediately said no. That's my money. I'm using it for what my grandfather intended me to, university and/or traveling. I also point out that my uncle works in tech and makes at least $300K a year. His current contract is $380K. He and his wife just went to Dubai. And that I'm a full-time university student only doing odd jobs and relying on savings from a previous job. He, by all logic, should be in a much better financial position than me, and if he isn't, that's really not my fault. He pouted, but I told him that if he ever brought it up again, I'd tell the rest of the family. He asked, everyone's mad at him because he never seems to have money but has the highest paying job, and he's an anti-vaxxer and anti-masker and is the entire reason my maternal family isn't getting together this year, so they absolutely would chew him out if they found out he asked me. And M-cousin picked up her kids from her mom's house, but her mom found out the reason the kids were so upset, ripped her a new one, and made her call me to apologize. Overall, it's been a pretty successful day. I don't understand why your mom's mad at you. You didn't scream, curse, or belittle the kids or their mother in front of them. And our last story. I'm not who you think I am. I'm the boss. So this isn't my story, it's my grandfather's story from the 1970s. My granddad had grown up in a very working-class farming family, but as a teenager, he started working as a printing apprentice at a local factory. Over the decades, he scrimped and saved to buy shares in the business along with his future business partner. Eventually, he was a 50% shareholder, making him one of 2 CEOs, but he was the more involved partner day to day, though I'm not 100% sure on specific details, as unfortunately, he's since developed dementia, so I can't ask him anything about it, but what I know is anecdotal. The words aren't exact because I haven't heard this story since I was a little girl, around a decade and a half ago, but I do remember the spirit of the story and bits enough to cobble it together. Because of his background, he was a very hands-on boss. And this is where our story begins. So it was morning, before the workers arrived, and he was sweeping the hallway. As I said, very hands-on. When a man in, I think, a pinstripe suit walked in, we'll call him Entitled Jerk, or EJ, and my granddad will just be GD. EJ, you. I have a very important meeting with Mr. GD. Put that brush down and take me to him at once. GD, feigning ignorance. Oh, really? Well, I think Mr. GD's a bit busy right now. Motioning to the broom. I should note that my granddad had a wicked sense of humor. He was incredibly talented at winding people up, especially people who were rude to him. E.g., well, he won't be too busy to see me. We have a very important contract. It's a lie. It was a very small printing job of leaflets or posters. I shall be speaking to him about your attitude. You should treat people with respect. GD. All right then, let's go together. I'm sure he'll understand my side. So Granddad took EJ to Mr. GD's office and knocked at the door, entered and sat down, and removed his cap and the protective wear he wore over his shirt to keep it clean. Morning, I'm Mr. GD. The rest of the conversation was essentially my granddad dressing the man down sternly and eventually canceling not just the contract, but all future business with the company. My grandfather did not tolerate rudeness, and due to his upbringing, was especially touchy about people who believed they were a higher class talking down to his workers or any other working class people for that matter. The man left red, flustered, and got into his dirty blue van and drove off quickly. My granddad never saw him again, but I still remember him with tears of laughter in his eyes telling the story to a 6 or 7-year-old me and my little sister around the kitchen table. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.